You're about to watch the most depressing battle of this entire Nuzlocke, the final gym. It is another 3v3, level cap 43, we go up against Iris, some tiny little girl, and she throws out the world's most devastating Lilligant of all time. As we find out very quickly that she hits way harder than I do, especially considering it's not a very effective move. We have to bring in Frank quite early, and she's dropping crits left and right. And the worst part is that I'm quad resistant to her hits too. Things take a turn for the worse as she drops an even harder crit, and then the dreaded full heal. I'm at a loss for what to do, so I do the only thing available to me to make sure that I win this match. The hardest possible thing I've had to do in this entire Nuzlocke. Frank, I'm sorry, but I need Ruiner at the highest health that he can be. Well, you grew up big and strong, Frank. You grew up big and strong. It was nice knowing you, Frank. And thus ends the life of our little baby boy, who we raised from birth into a great Dragonite. It is a sad end. But his passing allows us to bring Ruiner in with some semblance of health, and maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. She heals herself again, and things are not looking good. But the Dini cult had other plans, as she's run out of moves, and all she has is Giga Drain. Ruiner, in his last gasping breath, with 1 HP, because of Frank's loss of life, is able to put away the beast. But now Kobe is all on his lonesome in a 1v2 with a ground type in front of him. Can he take advantage of this situation to pull the clutch victory out of nowhere? With Milk Drink and Razor Shell, Kobe is up to the task, setting up the final showdown, the 1v1, where the tiny little girl foolishly sends out a Chime Echo. Is this the moment? And then, against all odds, she does something even dumber. Oh, this is why did you drop a rain dance? Why did you drop a rain dance? You are the dumbest dum-dum on the planet. And so, Kobe takes advantage of these crazy conditions and pulls the improbable comeback out of nowhere. We've done it. We've defeated all 8 gyms, but at what cost? We must continue to the Elite Four without Frank. Can we do it without him? His memory will live on forever. I have to show you guys one final encounter before endgame here. Most of the rest of the encounters are irrelevant, but this one has special meaning. On our way up Victory Road, we run into a Rapidash, which if any of you remember from the beginning of this series, we used to have a Ponyta named Podini, who died tragically to a Lapras. So this is a repeat, but we decided to keep it anyways, just for memories. But if you also remember, that Podini had really good stats, and now we've resurrected Podini as a Rapidash to have our tanky little boy back again, and this time, we think he's actually good enough to be a part of our Elite Four team. As a Rapidash now, Podini's defenses are even more amazing, plus incredible speed, Blaze in a pinch, Dump an attack, and not a terrible special attack. This is an excellent Elite Four Pokemon. So we're excited to bring Podini back into the team, and hopefully this is the final team member we needed to replace Frank to allow us to defeat the Elite Four. Ready or not, here we come. We face Marshall to open the Elite Four. I prayed to the Dini gods that we would get a water type to face at the beginning, and we got a water type to face at the beginning. So Ruiner does what Ruiner does best, and that's end people's lives. And now, because Ruiner's a lawnmower, we have grass versus grass. And with back-to-back Shadow Balls, this is starting to look like a piece of cake. But whenever I start to think things are getting easy, life throws a curveball at me, as Torterra is here to ruin my day. My Shadow Ball does absolutely nothing, so I wait until he locks himself into another Petal Dance, and then I make the switch into someone who can resist. And we successfully navigate the Torterra, but things are about to get worse. And Zapdos most definitely does not have our best interests at heart. We switch into Brick, and he gets absolutely devastated. Luckily, Dorinos is immune to electricity, but this Zapdos is hard to do damage to. But the battle goes neck and neck. Only difference is, he can heal, but I can't. We bring in our resurrected Podini to try to tank some hits. But another full restore is making this fight quite difficult. And so I take the risk, bringing Ruiner back on, to try to finish the job in the clutch. And with one final Shadow Ball, we barely survive, with all of our lives intact, after the first Elite Four battle. Luckily for us, that was the hardest battle of the Elite Four, as our push to N and Getsis becomes much easier. We have to do a little bit of switching around when we're taking on Grimsley here, but luckily our team is set up in such a way that we can just drop a few bombs left and right on a few switches, and we're able to take down every single one of Grimsley's Pokemon in grim succession. Going up against Chantal, I get a little bit complacent and make a horrible decision to start out the battle, as I completely forgot that my Ruiner was a lawnmower and is actually grass type, not ghost. But we recover quickly and drop a few more bombs, and GG to all of these Pokemon. Honestly, I can't tell if my Pokemon are just better than I thought or if the Elite Four is just weaker than I thought. And if you notice anything about this run so far, you'll notice that Kobe, Brick, and Ruiner are just absolute monsters, and they're just carrying this run. I don't even really need anybody else. I could have gone into this fight with just 3 Pokemon and just won every single fight. And we managed to wipe out the entire Elite Four. Time to see if N and Getsis are going to be any different. Finally, we get to take on the wise-cracking smartass N for all the marbles, the penultimate finale. Of course, he affords us another perfect start by dropping a Golduck. Why do they keep starting with water types knowing I have Ruiner? This is ridiculous. And we say sayonara to Mr. Golduck after he whacks me once with a Bug Buzz, for some reason. And N tries to counter my lawnmower with a Magmortar. So of course we bring back the reincarnated form of Kobe Bryant, drop a Rain Dance to make this much easier, drink a little bit of milk, and then we just be shooting shots all day. I mean, how are you gonna beat Kobe's setup? You're just not gonna beat Kobe. Nobody simply beats Kobe. Well, unless you're a grass type, in which case I can just switch out, I guess. But that's just where you bring in some good juju and whack him across the face, and you know, things get solved that way too. Not gonna lie, I'm getting kind of tired of N throwing out Pokemon that always counter mine, but I mean, can I really complain? So in my complacency, I throw out a ground type against a water type because I'm smart. But of all the oddball things to happen, he uses Soak against me and turns me into a water type. So now, this is fine. And in a hard-fought battle, Dorinos comes out on top. And luckily, we run into an Ambipom, which is basically useless, as Kobe keeps making it rain. And on top of that, N has the most useless Crobat in existence, and we can just call it a day. Unfortunately, we face one big problem against Getsis, soon to come. This is it, the finale of the Pokemon White Randomized Nuzlocke. We face Getsis, and he hasn't given us any time to use rare candies, so we are actually under-leveled. This could be problematic. A Stunfisk off the bat isn't terrifying, especially because I can levitate with my little lawnmower guy here. And since we are grass type, Ruiner whips up a Leaf Storm and does what he does best: end lives. Unfortunately, lawnmowers are not very good against fire, so Kobe has to come in to put up a couple free throws, and of course, he makes them both, obviously, and Getsis whips out his ace, a Luxray, and we have no one to resist, so we have to hope Juju's up to the task. And in a hard-fought battle, Juju proves his mettle with both offense and defense, finishing off the Luxray with some mighty digs. It's time for Ruiner to prove his mettle and solidify his status as the MVP of this run. Can he defeat a Kyogre? And of course, our little lawnmower, which kicks like a mule, obviously finds a way, setting up the final showdown between Brick and a pile of garbage. And Brick lays the smackdown of the Dini cult gods, defeating the garbage in one hit. And I accomplished something in a Nuzlocke I have never completed before, winning the final fight with all 6 of my Pokemon perfectly intact. Someone said this was going to be a hard run. Well, they were wrong. It was the easiest Nuzlocke of my career. MVP is going to be Rotom, but honorable mention to both Brick and Kobe. Podini was lightly used, but it was nice to see it back in the team for the finale. It was a fitting end, and now we move on to other things.